I got my co-host Joe here. I'm Shari Criso, and I am the host of the My Baby Experts TV show. And this is my partner, my husband, the love of my life, the father of my children. And tonight, you are going to co-host with me, right? Awesome. I am excited. This is you're my favorite guest. How do you like that? Yeah, you are my favorite guest. So tonight we have an awesome show. We are here live in Las Vegas. We're extremely excited, and we've got a fantastic show tonight because tonight is about really how do we set up our children to have the best life possible. You know, we've talked about so many things when it comes to their health and their well-being, and their well-being includes their mental health, right? So how do we raise confident, happy children?
And their emotional well-being.
Thank you. Emotional intelligence, right?
That's right.
Emotional intelligence. So we did a great interview yesterday with a fantastic guest. Her name is Sue Lee, and I just instant love. Just, you know, you meet somebody and you go, this person's for me. Like, we just love her. Deal. And so we're going to actually cut out to the interview that I did with Sue. Hi, welcome. Yay! It's My Baby Experts, and we are back again, and it is Tuesday night, and I am so thrilled to be here with you, and I am live from Las Vegas. We are in Las Vegas tonight. Yay! We don't look like we're in Las Vegas.
Can we say Vegas, baby?
We can say anything we want on the show. Vegas, baby. Right? Except that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and we're recording, so I guess we can't do that.
We're sharing it. We're sorry.
When the camera stops, you know, we'll go have some fun. Okay, anyway, I know we don't look like we're in a casino, but we are in a beautiful house here, and I am thrilled to be here with you once again for this very special show that really helps to, you know, if you've been a guest, if you've been here with us, and some of you have been here from the beginning, you know, this show is all about supporting you and your children and your babies and your families and future generations to live the healthiest and happiest lives possible. My name is Shari Criso, and I'm your host. And today I have an amazing guest with me, and this is Sue Lee. I'd love to introduce you. This is Sue Lee. She's here with us to be our guest tonight to talk about such an important issue, such an important topic that we have not addressed yet on the show. And before we get into what the topic is, you know, I'll explain. You know, we've talked so much over the past year and a half about how to have healthy children, how to breastfeed, how to have a great pregnancy, how to make sure that their physical well-being is there, how to make sure that, you know, mommy's taken care of, how to make sure that they're safe in a car seat, or that their cribs are the right thing, or the toxins in their creams. But what's going on in their mind, you know, is just as important as what's going into their body physically. And so that's why I'm so thrilled to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
Talk about this, because, you know, when we talk about our children, what's the thing? What do we all say? We say we want to have a happy, healthy child.
Right.
What does that mean? To be healthy and happy. And happiness, you know, can be very subjective. And how do we achieve that happiness? And how do we get that from the beginning? How do we foster that in our children from the beginning? It's a question that even I want to know the answers to. Here I am as a parent, and I'm going, tell me more, Sue. We were having a conversation before the show, and I'm going, I need to know more about it. I'm taking my notes. She thinks I'm taking it for the show, but I'm really taking it for myself.
Right.
So, Sue, you know, I'm going to let Sue talk and just tell us about yourself, and tell us a little bit of how you got started doing what you're doing, and about your wonderful program.
Well, about myself, I'm Sue Lee, and I grew up in a situation that was very challenging, and my family was very poor. And I really tell people I didn't have a bathroom till I was 12, and I had I'm the youngest of 3 siblings, and I used to wear my brother's hand-me-downs. So you have to have belief in yourself if you're going to grow up out of a situation like that. And I had an amazing mother who taught us that there's awe and wonder in the day, and how to believe in ourselves, and you can become anything you want to be. So I ended up becoming an elementary school teacher, and I started as a teacher probably before I even went to kindergarten, because I would take my cats and my dogs and the dolls and the teddy bears and line them up, and I'd go A, B, C, like that.
See, I did the same thing, but I was dancing in front of
them. I wanted to be a dancer too. I used to dance in the barn with the animals, you know.
So I wasn't breastfeeding them, but I was dancing.
So I had to grow up, be able to believe in myself, and I went to college, and I became an elementary school teacher. And actually, when I was teaching school, it was in 4th grade. I was teaching a 4th grader, and all of a sudden he's crying, and I went up to him and I said, "Bobby, what's the matter, honey?" And he said, "I missed a spelling word." And I'm looking at this child who's in 4th grade, and he's spelling on a 6th grade level, And it's the first time he's ever missed a spelling word.
Yeah.
And so I realized, oh my goodness, we're teaching them how to spell. An example that I often give, we teach our children, we want them to be happy. You as a parent want your child to be happy and successful. Yeah. So you think, wow, I'm going to teach them their ABCs and I'm going to teach them how to spell. So using this Bobby as an example, if you teach a child how to spell cat, and they're like, wow, I can spell cat, let me spell cat, C-A-T is cat. Yeah. And then we say, spell cattle. Yeah. And maybe they go, C-A-T-T-L-E, and they're all excited. And then we ask them to spell catastrophe, and they miss it on the spelling test. Yeah. And we don't teach them, you are not the spelling test. Yes. You are how you're able to respond. So when we want our children to be happy and confident, we need to give them those skills that are about confidence and how you can be determined and how to be a friend and how to hang in there. So that's what I meant. I do.
It's fantastic. And you know, that's something that, you know, unfortunately, I know just growing up as a child and then watching my own children grow up, it's one of those skills that it's not taught in school.
It's not.
It's really not taught in school. And so if it's not taught in school and we didn't learn it as children, and many of us have parents that didn't teach this to us, where are our children getting this from?
They're going to get it from me.
They're getting it from Sue.
Wow,
they're getting it from
so
Sue.
much.
So tell us a little bit about the program and why you decided to do it in this format.
Right. So you asked, how do they learn it?
Yes.
And so the way we've always learned since the beginning of time, since we first walked the face of the earth, before we had teachers, we've always learned from observation, interaction, and participation. And so as a creator and someone who's going to use a DVD format, I thought, how am I going to do that? So I wanted children to be able to watch real children in real life situations, because the children watching, your children who are watching this are real kids. Yeah. And so it's real kids in real life situations. And so they observe the actual type of scenarios in life where how to be determined, how to hang in there. Yeah. And so if I could, can we go to a clip?
Absolutely.
On one?
Taylor,
I would love that.
Taylor, can you take care of this for us?
Let us hear you say, think big. What's think big? Yeah. Can you think big? Come on, say it. Think big.
Oh, that was fantastic. Sue, describe to us, you know, we saw what we saw there. What was going on in that scene for us? Like, what was behind the scenes that we didn't see?
What's behind the scene is the aspect, how do we, when we're in situations, how do we encourage ourselves or encourage others? Because there's a double aspect there, and the aspect of, if I can empower somebody else. So here you have one child saying to the other child, hey, let's think big. Yeah. So that's cooperation right there. Yes. That's the behind the scene kind of thing. Yes. Because life should be cooperative instead of competitive.
Well, we live in a society, we live with other people, right? This is all about relationships.
Exactly.
Everything is relationship.
Yeah. And their relationship, you can see these two little boys
are
awesome
totally
together. They are
that.
You totally get it. And so when they go, let's think big, and the other one goes, think big. And then they work at doing that. Yes. And then they have that feeling, that moment. Yes. And so then when the other child, literally he's looking at the camera, but if we even look at each other, because they learn that from watching, where they might look at you instead of looking at the camera, but they might look at the other child then in real life and they go, let me hear you say think big. What about big? Yeah. Let's do it.
That just brings up for me, you know, you think to yourself, you know, confidence in yourself, talking to yourself, you know, building your own self-esteem, but interacting and relating to others and to support other people is just as important. And so what you've done in this and watching that too is seeing how it's not only about saying to ourselves, think big, because we're telling ourselves to think big, but in supporting another. We're growing ourselves at the same time.
It is so key.
It's fantastic, so fantastic. And children love to be helpful. I mean, like, when I think of my own kids, they just want to help me. They want to help each other. They want to do, and how much that when you feel useful, when you feel like you've contributed. I mean, we talked about this before. Just, you know, in what we do, just to be sitting here, just to be being with all of you every single week, to to contribute to other people's lives is what we all want to do in the end, is we want to make a difference.
We all want that. We want to feel that we are achieving.
Yeah.
And when we feel like we're achieving, we feel confident.
Yeah.
And so there's another clip.
Totally.
Yeah, because, example, we always say a picture speaks.
Yeah.
1,000 words.
Yeah.
And so it's better to see the clips and see examples.
You got another one for me?
So another one that's
all right,
awesome.
Let's do it.
So it's 3 children, and you'll see that there's 3 children in a bedroom building a fort.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I want to say before we actually see the clip
Yeah.
is that there's children who don't know how to do what we call child-driven play. Those things that I did and many of us did growing up,
Yes.
where we're imitating animals or we're building a fort in the bedroom.
That's
or
been lost. A lot of that has been lost. I
Yeah.
watch my own children and I see like how different they are
Yes.
from the way we were as children.
Yes.
The video games and, they look at me, they go, you mean you couldn't just DVR something and watch it later? I'm like,
No.
we didn't even have a VCR.
Yeah.
Unless it was on TV. And we only had 13 channels.
We had to be our own movies.
Exactly.
We had to play them over and over. And that's where that's where the American Association of Pediatrics talks all the time.
Yes.
And many experts in the field are talking about
Yes.
this thing about let the children play. It's when we play. It's when we're in those things. So one of the things we take great pride in is that when we filmed, we're showing children really how to play.
Yeah.
So in this scene, you'll see these children building a fort in the bedroom.
It's the life skills. I mean, that's how we learn our life skills, is through play. And so, yeah, that's great. All right, let's watch the clip.
Yes,
okay,
great.
Brown is catching a football. Making a fort. And riding your bike up and over a big hill. Building and playing and riding.
So great. I love watching these scenes because you really get to see the essence of children playing together. And what I loved so much about that particular scene was seeing children of different ages.
Yes.
Right? When my children went to preschool, they were in a preschool where the teacher actually didn't have them separated by age.
Yes.
She had them intentionally with different age groups, and it was so good for my kids.
Yes.
First being the little ones, to be able to learn from example of the older
Yes.
ones, and then later being the older ones to learn how to care for and teach the younger ones.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was so brilliant, and I can see it now in them,
Yes.
how Jade, my oldest, has taken on the role of being able to be a teacher, and how they even interact with each other in their learning, and it's great. So
That's the way it's always been. So in that scene, it's just so perfect when we see them playing with different ages, and you realize the subtle message. Because again, this is like the magic sauce, the stuff behind it that
Yes.
is not being actually said out loud.
Yes.
Is the fact that they see children with different ages. So
Yeah.
we play with other ages.
Yeah.
And then when you see the older child encouraging the
Yeah.
younger one,
Yeah.
saying, hey, Luke, can you go get that box for me? And when he
Yeah.
struggles with the box, oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
And then he's so proud, and she's encouraging him the whole time.
yeah,
And then when he drops the box and he goes, I did it.
yeah.
And then people can use that. So one of the things that I would say to those of you who are parents of little kids is that use these phrases, start to incorporate them in your life, where you can say, in that DVD we saw that where they said, I did it. Maybe we can do that. And start to use the phrases.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And one of the things I wanted to really emphasize and talk to you about was just the idea of, when do we start this? Because sometimes, I'm thinking of my own kids. Like, I wish I had started this, right? And I'm sure you hear this
another one.
Joe's like, well, no,
maybe not.
So, just to use the DVD, right?
By the way, we're having a baby.
Believe me, I do it all the time. I find a product or realize where I went wrong and go, you know what? need to do this again.
That's right.
No, but just the idea that, children start their understanding, their comprehension so much earlier than they can actually speak. So it's a pre-verbal state. It's like before they can even speak, they can understand. And I think sometimes parents don't really understand how much they understand before they can actually verbalize. And so your program is meant for starting very young.
It is. The program itself is meant for children who are 2 to 5 to be watching. However, for all of you out there who have little teeny new ones, if this is the only thing people hear me say, this is probably the most important thing, is that emotion is the first language we speak. And the way our brain is set up is that when your child is born, as shocking as it might seem, their brain is only 25% the size it's going to be at birth. Yeah. And so by age 3, it's 80%. Wow. And by age 5, it's 90%. Wow. And then up to about age 9, 10, 11, 12, depending upon the development, is when it gets full. Yes. And the emotional aspect, the more positive the emotional development. So when you have a newborn or a child that's not speaking yet, of course, until they're like up to age 1.5, 2, 3, you are the best example. And the emotions you're pouring, the intention behind that. Yes. When you look at your child with love, they pick up those signals. When your voice, the tone in your voice is a certain way. Yes. So what we say and what we think and what we feel, they're picking up all that emotional development at that point in time. Yeah,
it's so important.
It's so important.
Especially when, you may be dealing with a toddler who's throwing tantrums, who's not sleeping well through the night still, you're feeling exhausted, or, bringing home another baby into the house. There's so many aspects that you can see where you can go unconscious in the way that you're being around your child, and they're picking up those emotions. You think they're not hearing you. You think they're not noticing. Oh. They're noticing everything. Believe me, they're noticing everything. And the way they learn, like Sue said, is through example and through repetition and all those, watching their parents and mimicking.
They do. They mimic. And that's why the whole tool with the DVD is that we teach through observation, interaction, participation. Yep. So we want the children to observe real life scenarios. Yeah. The interaction part in the DVD, just like in real life. Yes. The kids in the DVD look, as you've seen in clips, they look at the camera and they go and ask them to say and do things. Yeah. Literally to say and do things throughout the whole entire thing. But the participation part, it's really key, because I feel the most important conversation we're ever going to have in a given day is the one in our own head. And so we want our children to feel like, wow, if I give it a try, I'll be able to do it. Yeah. And I can do this thing. Yeah. Yeah. Instead of like, I can't. Yeah. And so we provide those little ditties and phrases that allow them to be able to use those in real life.
The conversations we start early on in life, the conversations that we tell ourselves about, can we do this, can't we do this, they become so automatic, when you've been doing them since as a child, that what we take on early on in life as a 2-year-old, as a 3-year-old, becomes the habit of how we speak to ourselves, because we really, let's face it, we all speak to ourselves every single day. Right. You're speaking to yourself right now, whether you realize it or not, there's that voice that's going on in your head. And the question is, what's the voice saying? What is that voice saying? And then when you look at your child, they've got that voice too. What's their voice saying? And that voice is so determined by what you're speaking.
Yeah. It's like putting when we teach
programming,
character, it's
like
programming. Literally. So we all are in this new technological stage and age. Yeah. And so if we realize, when we help develop character and confidence in a small child, it's like putting an antivirus program into a computer. So it's,
what's the software that you're going to install is basically
And trust me, because my children are adults. Yeah. And having done this kind of thing for a long time, it's easier to teach character and confidence to a small preschooler than to try to turn around a troubled teen.
Well, it's like, trying to change something that is always harder than just taking a blank slate and saying, let's fill it up.
That's right.
What are you going to fill it up with?
Especially empowering, positive things.
Yes.
So they will grow up to be able to handle life.
And what I love is that, like we were saying, a lot of us as adults didn't have this information. Our parents just didn't know any better. They didn't know, even if they did know better, some of us did get that kind of encouragement, but didn't get it all the time, didn't get it in school, didn't get it in church or temple or wherever they went. Didn't see it on TV, and then we are expected to know how to do this. But we're learning along with them. And what I love about the program too, right? Wouldn't you say that's a big part of it? Because I can see myself watching and go, I'm going to tell myself, I'm going live in 5 minutes. I can do this.
I can do this thing. I believe in me.
I believe in me. Exactly.
Do
you find that the parents too are learning along with it?
Yeah. The parents talk about it all the time, and the grandparents. So one of the examples.
Well, especially since when you're having a new baby too. It's a whole new transition in your life, That's when I think, for me personally, and I see my clients, it's like the time in your life where all of a sudden you feel completely inadequate again. You feel like I'm an idiot. Like I don't even know what I'm doing. Like I don't know. Am I good enough? How could they trust me to take home this baby?
That's right.
And so I could see where these skills would support a new parent who feels like maybe they just don't know. Maybe they're not good enough. Maybe I'm not up for the task.
The same phrases and words that encourage a child are the exact same ones that we use as adults in our own life. And it also, when parents watch it with their children, it also gives them ways in which they can utilize this with all of them in the family.
Yeah.
Right. So
totally.
There's one gentleman that I always like to use as an example. He has twin boys, 2.5 years old, and he goes, they absolutely love the DVD.
Yeah.
And he shared with me how he was reaching up and trying to get something on top of a refrigerator or freezer, and he was on a stepladder, and one of his sons went, "You can do it, Dad. I believe in you," looking up at him, and he's reaching for it. And he said he just stopped. And he thought, wow, we need to use this stuff in our own life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he says, I find myself telling I believe in me, I can do this.
It's so great.
Fern green is the shadows on the playground.
You are you, I am me. Trust in me, I trust in you. You are you, I am me. Trust in me, I trust in you. I trust in you.
Okay, so we just watched a really profound clip, and for those of you who watched it, we may not have picked up exactly what was actually happening in that clip, because it was profound.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is, because again, that message behind the message is to be able to really be in the moment. You want to be focusing in on what is happening around you. And so when you saw the playground scene, you automatically, here you are on the swing. And when you were a little kid and were swinging, if you would have been like if we were girlfriends swinging together, and if we would have
higher,
higher, and then if we'd go, wow, look at the shadows.
Yeah.
Look at our shadows.
Yeah.
The minute I have had parents say, I saw the shadows on the playground clip and I cried.
Yeah.
Because it takes you back. So anytime when we can go back to enjoyable moments. So the key is when your children are in moments and you're with them. And my mother was an expert at this.
Yes.
To be on the playground with your child and go, wow, look at your shadow. Look at it.
Yeah.
Even though they might go, huh?
Yeah.
However,
Yes.
when they are later
I
on
just
a
got
playground,
exactly
right. They get it.
goosebumps
And
when you
then
said that, yeah.
with that clip, the music in the background and the little ditty of "You are you, I am me. Trust in me, I trust in you."
Aww.
It takes you instantly back. And so anytime we're in something. So another example, when people watch the DVD, look for the scene where we talk about the look in the eyes of the owl, the smile on a deer, birds snuggling in their nest. And we have children literally imitating the look in the eyes of the owl. Like, how does a deer smile?
Yeah.
And the kids doing it. When we ask kids to do that and be in the moment, you go, wow, look at, there's a butterfly. Can you be like a butterfly? Then when they see a butterfly, they might recall the time they were with you and they had that magic moment.
That's, it's like those are the moments. We think that, a trip to Disney World or, Christmas morning, like those are the moments that they'll never forget when they got that present, And really, if you think back in your own childhood, the most profound moments, the moments that will always be burned into your memory, are usually the simplest ones, the ones where you really connected, where you connected to your mother, you connected to your father, or to a sibling, or to yourself, or to nature, or to something that was simple.
Oh.
But you'll never forget
You'll never
the sound,
forget.
the sight, the smell.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even to this moment, I can remember walking into my home and, you know, my grandmother baking cookies. And just the smell of the cookies baking and what that smelled like to me.
And if we learn how to pause and be in those. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look,
it's
this
perfect.
is advice not only for your children. Trust me, this is advice for ourselves every day of our lives to be, you know, we get so caught up, especially with young children. And I know what this is like, where we live busy lives, where we're thinking of our to-do list. We're thinking about what do I need to do tomorrow? The laundry's piling up, or you know, I didn't do the grocery shopping, or whatever's going on. That we have those moments with our children, or with ourselves, or with our partners, or our spouses, where we forget to actually like take it in, to really live it and be there in the moment, because that's really all we have is this moment.
It is.
We really only have this moment.
And when they learn it little, when the children are little,
and it's practice.
And they practice it. And it's subtle in the DVD, but you have to trust me, your kids are learning it.
Yes.
When they watch that, they start to look for those things.
Yes.
They start to bring them up. They start to say to you, oh, wow, Mommy, hey, Dad.
Yeah.
You know, and you start to be aware of it.
Yeah.
Whether it's just like the ducks quacking on the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And then remember and be prepared that your child will learn this much quicker than you will.
They will, trust me.
They will be telling you, Mommy, are you living in the moment?
They will call
are you being in
it.
They will call you on it, and so they should, right? And so they should.
Exactly.
Just be prepared. They're much faster learners than we are.
They will.
We have thicker heads on those things, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and I can see how this would also help us to relive our own childhoods.
Oh,
right.
yes.
To be able to. You know, re-experience things, you know, which is one of the best things I know for myself, having children, has been that ability to relive aspects of my own childhood, see it through the eyes of a child again.
Oh,
right?
It's one of the key things that you will receive as a parent that you can give your kids, and someone much wiser than I, and I believe it was Rachel Carlson, said years ago, every child meets an adult who remembers what it's like to be a child. And I never wanted to forget that. And I take great pride that in the DVD, we are honoring what it's like to be a child. We're in that innocent world of a child where what's happening right now is important, and to be able to believe in themselves. And when you watch it as a parent, you go back to your childhood.
Totally. I mean, that's, I think, one of the beauties of parenthood. Is being able
to relive it,
relive it, and to do it through through wiser eyes, to be able to see and then not being in that mode of like wanting to grow up. You know, you spend your whole childhood waiting to be big, and then you spend your whole adulthood wishing you could go back. Right.
And they're not looking. It's not like a little kid is like constantly looking at their watch, going, "Oh,
time is irrelevant."
And so there's so many examples in the DVD where you can just see where the kids just want to stay.
Yes.
In fact, to be honest, when we filmed,
yes,
there were kids who cried because they didn't want to go home.
They
loved it. I can just picture it. I want to play some more.
Yeah, that would be my Talia. That would be my little one. She'd be like, I had too much fun. I don't want to go.
It's totally fun.
You know, something else that we deal with a lot is like just the whole the emotionalness of bringing home a sibling. You know, and how difficult that can sometimes be on a toddler or even an older child. You know, of life is a certain way. You know, I haven't had to share my mommy and daddy, and now all of a sudden I've got this baby. You know, and I'm sure the program and what you're teaching can only enhance and help that relationship aspect of it.
There's so many examples in the DVD where time and time again we're showing older children with younger children, and you can tell that they're their siblings, and there's one that is so precious, and everybody should look for it, and it is an example of a child with a little baby sister, and it is precious because it is a precious moment, and yet they're precious. They're the older one.
Yes.
They're the one who can be the example.
Yes.
And so this helps to show ways in how you can be that helpful older brother or sister.
And can you imagine how that, siblings are not just babies and toddlers. This is a relationship that will continue for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So what a gift to be able to start off from that first moment, from those first early years, to establish relationship between your children that, become the best friends in your life that you have.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you bring it up, because any of us who create something, that I had to believe in myself that I could create this.
Yes.
And my two brothers who are older,
Yes.
how they have still supporting me. So even as adult, because we were talking about that brain programming,
Yes.
we carry that over into our adulthood.
Yes.
And so even though at the age that I am, that my brothers still believe in me and encourage me,
Yes.
and are so proud of me.
Yes.
That means so much to me. And so it starts when we're little, but it carries us through a whole lifetime.
That's so great. It's so great. And I can see where that, how your parents are with you can really foster that.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful to have the tool.
It is.
For so many of us who just wonder, we know that we should be doing these things. We know we want to do these. We want the best for our children. To now have a tool to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And it's my pleasure that I created it. I'm in awe sometimes that it came out.
So it came from Catherine Henderson from North Carolina, a high Kit Kat model. Okay, so Catherine's a long-time viewer of the My Baby Expert show. She's one of the originals. Hi, Catherine. We're going to answer your question right now. Her question was, what is a good age to start chores for your child? I try to let my almost 3-year-old help when she can, but when can we start giving her daily chores that she needs to help with? Fantastic. The first thing that really kind of shot out at me as I was reading your question was the word chores. I think probably one of the first things that I would consider is thinking about, instead of using the word chore, use the word help. How do we help each other? Even as we go through life, the word chore, it seems like a chore, right? Think of it, it's a negative thing. That's something we have to do.
Well, sometimes we unconsciously, what's our frame of reference for being a parent? Unless we've read a lot of books or went to study groups or really, consciously observed other parents, what we draw from is from our own experience. So when I grew up, there was an allowance, you did chores. It was just the way I grew up.
Yeah.
So, when we first started parenting, that's just what I drew from. That was my bag of parenting tools. And later on, I realized, chores sounds like a burden. I don't even want to do chores. So
Well, we expect our children to.
So I'm breaking the cycle of chores.
Yes, exactly.
In our family.
Helping is a great word, because, it goes both ways. It's like sometimes your child will come to you and say, can you help me with this? And you say, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to help you with this. And it feels good.
Who doesn't like to be helped?
Who doesn't like to be helped? Exactly. And learning that in a family, it's not that we all have chores, but we all help each other.
Yeah.
And so when you ask me to help you with something, I'm going to stop and I'm going to say, absolutely, I'm going to help you. Or I may answer and say, I'm finishing what I'm doing right now. And as soon as I'm done, I'm going to help you with that. It's the same for your children to start letting them help you with things in the house, help their siblings, which then translates into friends and helping others, volunteering, and that just starts from a very young age, the positive reinforcement and the desire to help others, which in essence will help with their own self-esteem and their own confidence.
I think they naturally have it.
They definitely naturally. Think about a child who's 2 or 3, right? And think of our own children. When they were 2 or 3, they wanted to help a lot more than when they were 10. And
when you're not aware, you kind of shut down their offer inadvertently.
Yes.
You're busy, you're focused on something else.
Can I help you cook,
You're
Mommy?
looking at the time, and you're like, we can't spend 20 minutes to make the bed or some chore like that.
Yes.
And
it takes patience.
It does.
It takes patience.
But when you could reframe it, like Shari was saying before, as a gift, to really be present, connect with, allow them to contribute, to praise them, and receive that offering, it really helps validate them and instill in them that confidence that they contribute, they matter.
Yes.
And as they get older, Shari and I joined a parenting group once, years ago. I think the book was by Stephen Covey, the guy who did 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. He did one for families. And in one point of the book, it talked about developing a family mantra, I believe it was. So we sat down with the girls and we gave them some examples, and we tried to find one that would fit for us so that we could always have that as a frame of reference to come back to. And the one that we created was one for all for one. I'm sorry, all for one for all.
Yeah.
And, you know, what that really did is it empowered them to show them that we're all equally part of this team and that, you know, everybody supports everybody. And they got to be on both sides of that offering, you know.
It helped. It was so great to create the cohesiveness in our family as the four of us together. But I even see it just in their relationship to each other. You know, they take it on, all for one for all, to each other as siblings. And you have to think, you know, creating that relationship and that bond and supporting them with that is a lifelong gift that, you know, it was great. I remember doing that, and they still say it, and we say it in the car, right? Which I was saying also, you know, it's that taking that patience, the time to realize that it's the small things in life. It's the times when your child is 3 years old and wants to help you cook, or wants to help you make the bed, or wants to help you vacuum, and you're going, I don't have time for this right now. Take those moments, real moments. There's no magic key here of like what builds confidence, you know, what builds self-esteem, what builds, you know, self-love. It's those little things. It's the things that you're missing. That it's not the book that you read, but it's the time that you're spending in between reading the book. The time that you're spending with your child in those everyday moments that is, while you're conscious, is going to really create that in that relationship.
Yeah, most adults, I mean, if you ask them, you know, about their childhood, whether they wish they could have, you know, it would be more of their parents, you know, more time with them. I wish they weren't so busy, or I wish they weren't always telling me what to do. I wish they would have played games with me.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
It's a great question. Great, Catherine. Thank you. The next one came from Stacy from Iowa. Is that Iowa? I'm really bad at my IA. Iowa. Okay.
Our daughters are like, oh.
Mommy. Stacy from Iowa. She wants to know, how do you balance multiple children and achieve this? You know, and when she's talking about how do you balance multiple children and achieve building, instilling confidence in your child. And an example, her kids are 4, 2, and 4 weeks old. She's constantly feeling like she's failing one of them. Okay. So right there, you know, is speaking volumes to me. You know, again, it's like what we said when we first started the show. Everything that you teach your children is going to be by example. So if you're feeling like a failure and you're trying to teach your child confidence, okay, think about that. It's incongruent. Yeah, exactly. So what you're trying to say is one thing. The energy that you're vibrating out to them every single moment of I'm failing you, is what they're feeling. And they do feel it.
Your words may be accurate, but if your energy is not consistent with that, they're going to pick up off your energy and your emotion more than your words.
Absolutely.
Think about when you were a kid, you know, your parent may be saying one thing, but if what you felt was disappointment or anger, you weren't listening to their words, you know?
Yes, definitely. And the other thing, too, is, and I think we talked about this in my interview with Sue, was it's fantastic to have different children of different ages, because not only are they learning from you, but they're learning from each other. True. So taking on the whole, you know, taking on everything, like I need to spend time with each one of them, or I'm failing as a mother. Not true. You know, a 4-year-old can learn from you, but they can also be a teacher. And so being the student and being the teacher is equally as important. And I think, you know, like really fostering the whole fact that they have siblings, that they can teach each other, that they can help each other, is part of it. And that's like a gift of having a sibling, of having another child in the house. My children went to a preschool where they intentionally put children of different ages into the same room. And it was all for the fact of trying to create that situation where they're not only a student, but they were a teacher as well. And I can totally see that in my older daughter. You know, she just loves babies. She loves, I don't know where she gets that from. She loves babies. But she loves other children, and she loves to teach, you know. And I think teaching builds confidence in itself.
Yeah.
Right?
So I was having this thought, you know, I became a parent, right?
Yes.
I
remember the day.
But, you know, there's a big distinction between being a parent and parenting.
Yes.
And, you know, you could be an absent parent. You could be a mean parent. You could be a loving parent. You could be a meek parent. You could be a conscious parent. And that's really the path that I've put myself on, that Shari's been on the last, you know, few years.
Yes.
And more so the last year than any other year before.
That's true.
Yeah. And, you know, it comes back to, like I said earlier, you know, loving yourself forward, you know, just like most parents, especially as their children get older, you would ask them, what's your one wish? And that's that, you know, they feel self-confident that they could enter into the world and, you know, they turned out and you don't have to worry about them anymore. They could take care of themselves.
Yeah.
You know, the flip side of that, you know, the children can't express this or even have the intellect to understand and distinguish it. But looking back, most adults would say as a child, the one thing they would just want their parent to be is happy.
Yes.
Happy, you know, independently and happy with, you know, with them as their child. So, you know, to keep that in mind, you don't want to be inauthentic, but obviously, you know, you want to keep yourself in check and just checking in with each other and yourself. And, you know, that is going to do more than any words you could say or, you know, examples you're going to set. Like if you don't have this inner peace and this inner happiness, that's something to, you know, go to work at, because that's going to help them so much, you know, to be in the presence of somebody who, you know, is compassionate and patient and understanding and loving and a good role model with their partner, you know, that's what's going to have a huge difference in their upbringing.
Love is always the answer. Love is always the answer. And
our teacher.
Love comes in different forms. Love comes from love to one another, love to the world, and then ultimately loving yourself. And that's the part your child is going to pick up on, is how do you love yourself? You know, also telling your child that you love them. You know, you can't say it enough. You can't tell them that you love them too many times. I mean, sometimes I think my children are like, okay, enough already. And I just can't stop saying it. Like Joe said, you don't want to be inauthentic. You're not trying to, they will feel if you're forcing something, but when the thought is there and you're just present, and believe me, if you're present to them in the moment, that love, that feeling of love is going to naturally pour out of you. And I think the way children learn to love themselves is through your love for them and how they watch you love yourself. So.
Well, I'm looking at life through wiser eyes now as I'm older. You know, when I was younger, I had a lot of expectations I projected onto my parents. You know, as I look back now and I saw that they were in their 20s when they got married and had me, you know, they were still figuring out who they are in life, in this world, you know, and it's a major thing to take on becoming a parent.
Definitely.
And they didn't take any parenting courses or read books, so that's a lot of expectation for me to have on them.
They did a pretty good job.
I
have to say, they did a pretty good job.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
So
why don't you read the last question here?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good ones. How do we choose? But this one really, Katie Johnson from Arizona wrote, Joe, my dad used to take me on father-daughter dates as a child. Do you do this with your daughters? When is a good age to start doing this, and what are some good suggestions?
Father-daughter dates. That's the best.
It really is. And I think, again, I'll go back to reading that book and joining that parenting group, and I encourage you to find something for yourself, to think that you have all you need. You're really limiting your ability as a parent. Like, you know, even somebody in the medical profession, you know, Shari has spent the last 20 years constantly going back to school, reading books, you know, immersing herself in different modalities of health to evolve as a practitioner and an advisor. The same thing for a parent. Why should we stop learning? And in this program, they introduced a concept I never heard of before, and that was dates with your children, spending quality time to bond with each child. So if you have 2 children, in our case it was 2 daughters, you know, there should be mommy-daughter time and daddy-daughter time. And then with each child too. And, you know, we were busy and we're like, how do we do this? But what I see looking back is each time we were able to honor that. And whether it was, you know, go out for ice cream or, you know, go to a movie, you know.
You do that all the time with them. They have their special dates with Daddy, and they love it.
It's not even so much what you do, it's that you do it. That's really important, and who you're being when you do it.
And how old, she's asking, what's a good age to start doing this? As soon as possible. As soon as possible.
Absolutely.
I remember you going out with Jade and with Talia. Well, mostly with Jade, because Talia needed to be near the breast all the time. So
Talia didn't like me until about a year in. She loves me now.
She
but
loves
the
him
first
now.
year,
But especially with Jade, I just remember you going off with her, the diaper bag in hand, and just having your daddy.
The pink diaper bag.
The pink
thank
diaper
you.
bag.
They didn't have any cool diaper bags 10 years ago. Things have changed a lot.
He did carry the pink diaper bag.
Real men wear pink diaper bags, I guess. Yeah.
But walking around with Jade as a baby and just having your daddy-daughter time, and there's no doubt in my mind that's why you guys are so close today, is that she has been with you from the very beginning, and she's known that you have deep love for her. And there's something I want to say about, there's a very special relationship between fathers and daughters that really needs to be fostered in a way that, you know, it does create how women feel about men for the rest of their lives. It's their first relationship with a man is with your father. And I think it's really important to start early. I think it's really important to be loving, to be fully accepting, and to start that time together.
Yeah, and I grew up with a brother, a lot of mostly guy friends, so I'd never imagined I'd be
stuck in a house with all women.
With 2 daughters, and I never rejected that, but it was a bit of an awkward transition for me in the beginning. Not when they were young, but as they started getting into, I want to play with the Barbie dolls, and I want to comb their hair, and
they wanted to comb his hair. They didn't.
Well, that's a whole nother show. But anyway, I really, once I embraced it, it really, created a special bond between my daughters and I, and I just encourage a dad to go with the flow, and it's not, like I said, so much what you do; it's the fact that you're there, you showed up, and that's what creates the real moments, and I'll always remember that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's leaving me with such a warm feeling, this whole conversation. I miss my children right now. We are away from home. I cannot wait to get back to see you. Mwah, loving you. Thank you to Katie. Thank you for watching. Thank you for another amazing episode. We love you. We miss you. We'll see you next week. Mwah.